Welcome to the first ever Feedback Festival session. This time we are focusing on design, which is a fairly broad term, but we're going to kind of narrow it in. Here we go. All right, so kind of the agenda of this session. So there's one world that was submitted for design. So we're going to start by taking a look at that world. And then what I want to do is sort of see what y'all are seeing and hear what y'all have as like what's standing out, right? And kind of then explore some ideas of maybe what we think is really working, what we think could be improved upon. And then to the end, excuse me, I want to kind of like scale, like zoom out and just sort of talk like high level design and just talk about some of the things that we might see out and about in the world and how we might be able to identify and then improve on some of these things. So let's get to it. The world, the one and only world that was submitted for design is Texas Penthouse, created by 2CXD. This is a social/hangout world for up to 32 people, and it is VR. It does work on mobile and desktop, but this one is definitely targeting VR. So yeah, we'll keep that in mind as we go through the world, which is what we will do now. So we are exiting slideshow mode and coming over here to this place. And here we go. So keep your eyes peeled for things as we go through the world. Okay, here we are in the world. So this is the very first thing when we land. I have been in here before, but we're just kind of go at it with fresh eyes. And I might sort of like live stream my consciousness just a little bit as we go. Okay, so it looks like we're coming up in an elevator. This little hallway moment with some doors. Okay, so here we are in the kitchen of the penthouse. We have some bunch of screens. Little toaster doing a dance. Okay, come on, musical toaster. Some grabbables to play with, some popcorn. Take some popcorn by the pool. Ooh, we can go stand-up paddleboarding on the pool. How about it? Let's see. We have a leaderboard for leaderboard. Okay. And then let's see what else. Got some dice. Ooh. Looks like I'm freezing up a little bit. Oh dear. Okay, cool. Yeah, you got some pillows happening. Lots of pictures I see on the wall, lots of screens. Let's see. Another like living room area. Okay. We have some accessories, masks, necklaces, some sort of trophy case, it looks like. What is this? Is this a bulletproof vest? It looks like. I don't think I can put that on. Oh, I see a gun. We're not gonna touch that. Oh, okay. Here we go. I am little itty bitty under this blanket fort and can lay down, question mark. Oh, oop. Uh-oh. Okay, cool. We're back. Still tiny. So I guess we're gonna keep exploring in little bitty mode. Let's see. So I think I went this way. Yes. And okay, so there's a telescope, view of a hot air balloon on a hot air balloon, tiny in a hot air balloon. Okay, now this is something here. I'm vibing with this. Hopefully there's a respawn trigger down here. Yes, excellent. Okay. Yeah, cool, right? Cool idea with the telescope. I think that's pretty cool. I didn't notice that it like actually took you anywhere when I was in here last time. So that was a fun little surprise, actually, being teleported up there. Let me quickly turn off my fan 1 sec. Sorry. It's like blasting cold air at me and making me think I'm more shaky than I really am. Okay. So here's the fort. I don't see that there was much to do. I see some crayons, a little bit of like kind of storytelling going on here, which is fun. And we'll touch on that in a little bit. Another big mirror, bed, more pillows to grab, more lots of guns. What is Texas? And okay. I feel like there was another spot somewhere. Let's see, some stairs. Where does this go? Like a movie room or something. The drawing tablet. Oh, sorry, I just saw the question. Is it a big house or am I a little person? Kind of both. It is a big house, but I did shrink down going into the blanket fort. Not sure how to grow back up again. Um, okay, I will say that it is kind of funny being tiny, having this giant gun. Um, but yeah, I'm not gonna gun it up out here. Let's see. We have a full regulation size football field. What a penthouse. Let's put our bets on how much we think this would cost in the real world. Like tons and tons of money. Okay. So we have the football to throw. I don't see a leaderboard, but we'll try one more time, see if anything happens if I make it through the goalpost. Yeah, the atmosphere is really nice. It really, really is. Okay. So we went through the goalpost. I didn't see anything happen, but we know we got a goal. So I will brag on that for the rest of the week. Yeah, I think. Oh, is this? There we go. Look at that. Back to normal. Wonderful. And there's a chicken on the, oh my God, is it grabbable? Not the pillow. Give me the chicken. Haha, ooh, wait. There we go. I have the chicken. Okay. So this is perfect. All you need in a world is a grabbable chicken and you're good to go. Jokes, kidding. I think this is everything in the world. What was the leaderboard for? I'm not sure. The title is leaderboard. So it might be a leaderboard for the most times you've walked up to the leaderboard. Um, I am actually not sure. I don't even remember where it was. There's a lot of, this is a big penthouse. I'm still holding this chicken. Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. I'm on here for some reason. The board for leaders. Yes, that sounds correct. Let's see. Maybe time spent. It's not visits because I know I haven't been here 84 times, but yeah, curious as to the intent of that. But it seems to be the only one. So that seems to be sort of the like the overview of the world. I think I've made it through the whole thing here. So we'll likely come and revisit this, but for right now, I'm just going to come back to my slideshow. So let's talk about what we saw, shall we? So I just kind of wanted to share with you guys, like, what is it that I'm looking at, right? So these are some of these are definitely not, all of the be all end all of design pillars. But these are sort of like some of the things that come to mind when I'm looking at a world and, when I'm creating a world, what do I keep at the core? So three things that are very important to me. One is the world's intention. What does this world intend to do, right? In this case, this world intends to be a social spot, a hangout place for people. And that's kind of like a very high level overview. But it's not intending, it seems to be anything more than just like a chill spot to hang. So what elements support this intention? I think that's a really good question to pay attention to, right? Is what is supporting this intention? What is helping it be a good hangout spot? What is helping to keep the vibe chill? And as I like say these things, feel free to like provide your own thoughts or answers in the chat for sure, as I just sort of like word vomit for a little bit. And then the other part of intention is the intention sustainable, right? So if this world is what it is, right? It's doing its job. Is that something that can sustain itself for a while, right? Thinking about, does it facilitate repeat visits? Does it, if a world intends to be a one and done type thing, like I don't know, like a temporary exhibit, then it might not be sustainable in the sense of, repeat visits. But I think this for sure as a hangout spot, it's sustainable for sure. I also look at storytelling, and I think this is going to be a big part of my critiques on this world. What story is the world telling, right? And how does the design supplement this story, right? So that's something that we'll kind of dive into a little bit more. Some other questions are like, how does the world engage users in this story? And is that story clear from the beginning? So just sort of like right out of the gate, I'm not getting much of a story, and that's okay. Not everybody's doing that. Might not be everyone's prerogative. I think every world does have a story to tell, though. And I love to tap into that as someone who used to be a creative writing like whiz in elementary school. Storytelling has definitely stuck with me throughout. So the third pillar is identity, right? And this is another really, really big one. How does this world differ from others in the genre? What makes this hangout social spot different from the next hangout social spot, right? Thinking about sort of like, you might call this value proposition. What can you only get here in this world, right? Like why do I have to come to this world? Because I can't get XYZ elsewhere. And how can players align themselves with this world, right? Identity is more than just what the world is. It's, what its community is, right? The people aligning with that identity. So now that we've sort of talked about these a little bit, if you have other pillars of design, feel free to share those in the chat or come off mute for a little bit. But we're going to keep these in mind. And I thought it would be fun to do sort of an interactive activity. So please interact. But the thought here is that we could do community call out. So I have a bunch of these and I can copy these. And so what are some things that stood out to you? And let's keep it nice. It's okay if you have like criticisms, let's keep them constructive. But what are some things from that tour, as hectic as it was, that stood out to you, right? And we'll kind of call these out and we'll fill the slide hopefully with little call outs. So I will go first while we're waiting, and feel free to come off mute. Hidden features like the tent and you stole mine. But yes, we'll say surprise moments with the shrinking into the tent. I, by the way, like am entirely unable to type without talking out loud. So forgive me. Shrinking into the tent and teleporting with the telescope. Yes. Lots of fun stuff to grab. Yes. I enjoyed the wall art as it was bright and colorful, so my eyes were drawn to it. Yes. So visually engaging wall art to peruse. Spelling. It doesn't seem to be yelling at me, so that's good. Okay, what else do we have? Glitter says, for me, general layout, I always say it's important to have something interesting to look at every 40 seconds, and this world does that. Yes, it sure does. And we also have world cubes. I like the lighting with the strings of light, etc., and the nighttime theme. Yeah, it definitely definitely does a good job on that. And let's see, we have cozy and lived in needs more hint of Texas. Yes, the boards in the pool were surprising and fun. And dice having an unrealistic scale is a great example of making something more accessible, better readability, and therefore making it more fun for all by making it feel more inviting to throw. Playful scale adds accessibility and whimsy. I think that's a fair summation of that. Could add some glowing golden lights to contrast with the purple nighttime lighting to break the monotone of the lighting. Yes, I love that. I absolutely love that call out. That we could definitely add some variation with color to specifically some lighting variation with color. Wonderful. Lots of great call outs. Thank you all for participating. So looking over some of these and sort of like thinking about, um, you know, good and, what could be a little better. So one of the first things that pops into mind, is thinking about motion, right? Something to me that's really important is, and helps the world feel alive, is motion, right? So it was fun to discover the pool toys, the little boards in the pool. But I think it could take it just that step further if maybe they've, moved around a little bit, even if it just has its own little, floaty kind of animation or little like path up and down of the pool. What was the sound design of the world? Great question. I actually had my tab muted, I think. Sound design is really important. That's an excellent call out. Starting from here. So I'm hearing like babbly, like water, like running water. Uh, and then of course the of the doors as they all close by and reopen. So there's a lot of door noise right here. Um, so yeah, running water is the primary soundscape. Yeah, that's continues to be throughout the whole world. Are we hearing this fire? No, there's no fire sound. The water is very faint. Oh, it disappeared out here. No crickets, no nighttime ambience, just the water. Oh, and nothing out here either, just silence. And then back into rushing water. The sound of space, yes, 100%. Yeah, so the sound really seems to just be water, inescapable rushing water. Okay, cool. That was a really good call out. Thank you for that. So we'll say soundscape could use more. Examples would be uh, uh, fire crackling, nighttime ambience, and quieter water, because I was actually finding it a little challenging to escape that water sound, which should be easy to do inside. Quieter water. Let's see. Refine the leaderboard to show what it's tracking. That was one that was called out. I think I would like it more if there was less real photos and they were like artworks, cartoon to the posters, etc. Yeah, I think that's definitely a good call out. This might just be their personal preference, which is a-okay. But maybe we could phrase it like this. Um, More varied art slash art styles to look at. Which actually, that is something very interesting that I think I kind of want to talk a little bit about. But I want to finish these first. So door portal should be on the reverse side. Incoming users see the backside of details pop out. Absolutely. And something else with that is maybe the doors could relocate altogether. I mean, right out of the gate, the first thing that you're seeing when you enter this world is other places to go. So maybe, put the doors to the back. Rooftop seems like a dangerous place to play football. If it looked like if you went out of bounds, you might fall to your end. Yeah, it definitely does seem that way. So you got to pay attention to those yard lines. A cool skybox would add variety and interest, and some trees on the patio. Yes, and this is actually something that I wanted to kind of tap into a little bit. So thank you for calling that out. That is a wonderful call out. We'll say visual and thematic interest via improved skybox. Okay, cool. Yeah, great. Wonderful. Keep them coming. This is making me so proud to see all of this. Thank you all so much for this. You have no idea how happy this makes me actually seeing all of the engagement here. So we may come back to this, but for now, we'll go ahead and move on. Thank you again. So let's talk about exploring these ideas, right? How might we, if we were in charge, where would we go with this, right? So there's a few things that kind of came to mind. So I wrote down some launch points. So the first thing that comes to mind, it's called Texas Penthouse, but I used to live in Texas. I lived in Texas for several years, in different parts of Texas. And if you're not aware, Texas is huge. There are so many different scenes you might find in Texas, from, the vast plains of West Texas where you look further and see less, or, East Texas where it's like you go outside and suddenly you're just drenched with sweat, or, you have the Gulf, where I've not been, so I'm not exactly sure, but Abba, water. So there's so many different really incredible. Oh, there's also tons of cities as well. But there's lots of really incredible sights and sounds and smells, which we can't capture in VR, but things about Texas that are so unique. Texas is like its own country, I swear. So a lot of Texas iconography, geography, skylines, and history that we could look into to kind of like level this up, which ties into the storytelling of, this is Texas. So where in Texas are we? Are we in Houston? Are we in Austin? Are we in Galveston? Are we in Amarillo? Sorry, I don't like Amarillo. I used to live outside and it's not fun. So there's so many different places we could be. So where are we? And how do we show that, right? Is that skylines, right? Are we somewhere in the outskirts of the city looking back, towards this like city skyline? Or are we maybe somewhere that it's like someone built this really cool penthouse out in like a more deserty area, and there's like big mesas and stuff, all around, and tarantula migrations. If you've never experienced that, it's terrifying if you have arachnophobia. Ugh. Yeah, and there's so much that we could just talk about, landscaping alone, how to tie it all together. So also talking about the intentions, right? This world is a social spot. So what are some things that maybe tie back into the story? Texas, if you don't know, barbecue. You can get barbecue just about anywhere in Texas, I swear. So, maybe there's a barbecue pit somewhere, or some sort of but yeah, like thinking about thematic social activities that help support the intentions and also drive the story, and also provide, more activity. Something that kind of stood out to me is, I know it is VR based and I was in there on web, but thinking about, if I were in there in VR, visualizing myself in there, there was a drawing board. There was that football field that doesn't seem to do anything, and then just, stuff to grab, right? So I'm thinking of what can we provide for people that you can't get anywhere else, right? Maybe there's not a world that has like a really excellent barbecue pit where you can like I put some sort of meat-based activity, meaning I think my thought when I wrote that was something like, maybe there's a smoker and it's like, you can go in and smoke meats. Maybe it's like some sort of activity where it's like, who's got the best brisket, right? And it literally could just be something silly like just voting on, meats that we can't actually eat. Also corn. What can we do with corn? You can't have barbecue without corn. Maybe I'm just hungry and that's why I'm talking about barbecue. So forgive me. But there's so much of social activities, especially surrounding food. And there's that big old kitchen in the penthouse. I think that's what it is I can't help but visualize people hanging out in the kitchen and sharing time there. Big old cowboy hats or giant belt buckles. Yes, sir. Doug Dimmadome comes to mind with that tall, like 500-gallon hat. Cowboy hats and belt buckles and boots for sure are definitely some really like real just Texan clothing items. And also thinking about, you know, um, maybe some like little like longhorn skulls, something above the door. I don't know. This is all, of course, leaning very much into the like kind of rural country part of Texas. I don't know why I keep slipping to this accent. I'm so embarrassed. Um, but if it is the city, then maybe we're just going for something that is a little more city-based, something a little more refined and less like super Texas-y. But still, I don't think I even saw a Texas flag in there. And that's like number one, uh, you know, Texas right there is the flag. Blue bonnets outside. Yeah, spruce it up with some flowers. The lots of really distinct flora and fauna in Texas for sure. So okay, moving away from food and corn, did it seem that the kitchen counters were a little oversized, bring down the size 10%? Yes, especially when I got shrunk, then it became like super, super oversized. But it's scale. I'd say, yeah, maybe revisit the scale on that a little bit. So the other thing that I put down as a launch point is finding the fun, right? What hooks visitors in right away, right? What could these be? Because when you land, there's nothing there, right? The first thing you see is doors, and there's like some like pictures down the hall. Um, excuse me. You kind of walk straight into the kitchen, but this is a big thing is finding the fun, right? So thinking about, you know, I saw as I was up way too late last night that there were about 16, 17 people in this world for a bit. And, likely if they're congregating in this is loud water sounds. Let me mute that. There we go. Likely, if they're congregating in that number, this is like a planned thing, unless there was some sort of event going on. But thinking about the casual player who might stumble across this, maybe on their own, or maybe with a person or two, right? How do we help them know what this world is about? how do we how do we get them to understand and learn? How do we get them hooked in and want to explore this massive penthouse, right? These are some things that I think could use a little improvement here. So from this launch spot right here, we're looking straight down the hall. I see an open door and a wall and a couch, right? So that unfortunately right here, right now, all of my attention is taken away from going into the house and it's immediately looking at the backside of these doors and also this very bright, is that Nicki Minaj maybe? So it's like, oh, hey, Jules, welcome. Uh, it kind of is, I'm not being drawn into anything in particular, and it just sort of feels like my job is to just sort of wander through, right? There's nothing that stands out as the primary, you must do this before you leave, right? Like what is the big draw here? Am I about to get hit with a pillow? No. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna grab defense just in case. Um, so it's like I see some pool that might work for VR players. I know that this is, as I mentioned earlier, very VR centric. Um, But I would say like definitely look at what you can do for mobile players, right? Even if that's something simple, like maybe like a little custom UI Texas trivia game, and that's another leaderboard. You know, there are tons and tons and tons of simple little things that can be done for people who just want to pop in, for people who are popping in on mobile because, hey, rude. Uh, you know, so it's like what I see that excites me the most, other than that chicken, um, is this. I think this is so fun. It's unexpected. I think this could go a lot further. So something that I noticed is that this world is listed as being like this sleepover update, which maybe that's what all the pillows are for, and this like little pillow fort, right? But I think that that could go so much further, right? And really, really make it like a big moment, right? That's the fun thing is with this whole house, there is so much opportunity for really pushing into this. It doesn't even have to be totally realistic, right? You can lean into the whimsy. I mean, he's already doing that, where we're shrinking down into this pillow fort, right? So maybe it's like you come down in here and there's like a tiny little obstacle course that you have to be tiny to do, right? And there's an activity. Um, Maybe it's like little hamster tubes, that run throughout the house. I don't know. Um, or maybe it's a little more understated than that. But I think that the creator definitely has a sense of wonder and a sense of whimsy with this. So I'd say push that further, plus it, as Walt Disney would say. So I think there's a lot of room here for continued updates, different themes. We have the sleepover thing. Maybe we have like a barbecue thing for a season. If you're small, someone should be able to grab you. Absolutely. Also, Telus says, I know a guy that made a custom UI quiz and made it a public asset. So there you go. Check the public asset library for sure. There's always new goodies being added all the time. Um, so something, if I remember correctly, that the creator was, I think, primarily focused on looking for ways to make it more engaging. So I think we've about covered that, really. I mean, there's kind of infinite ways, but I'd say look at how can we make some of these things a little more functional, right? We can grab the popcorn. On mobile, we can't really eat it. Maybe we could get points for distributing it, right? Or even if there was like with these ice cream shakes, sundaes, it's a little dark. Um, like maybe it could be a little station here that could be optimized for mobile. And you can, have a leaderboard, most ice cream sundaes made. I mean, who doesn't love a good sundae bar? Let's be honest. And it doesn't even have to be on Sunday. It could be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. That's okay. Um, Sorry, I had to, legally obligated. Um, does this make me get big? Yes, it does. Okay, cool. So we're definitely playing with scale here. I think there's something there for that, right? Tabletop terrarium, how alliterative and fun, where you shrink down and now you're on this console table here and there's things to do. I mean, or maybe you can put yourself in a pool ball and get knocked around. Would be fun. Laura accurate guru. Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to touch on design across the universe, and these kind of tie into the pillars I talked about, which were intention, storytelling, and identity. So some things that I have seen that kind of stand out in maybe not like a totally wonderful way that maybe we could like work on improving, just things to kind of keep in mind. And I think this is just my opinion. But first I want to talk about worlds lacking intention, right? Where I see sometimes worlds sort of just exist to exist. Nothing wrong with that, right? But I think that worlds just solely by giving it a purpose, identifying its purpose, will automatically make everything so much more clear for the creation process and for the people who are visiting, right? So I have it kind of at the bottom here, these like little like thoughts / quotes that might come up, right, with each of these. So when a world doesn't really have an intention, it's not really serving anything, or it's not sure what it's serving. Maybe it lacks value proposition, right? That it's not offering anything. Players might not, or straight up won't connect with the world, which means they're not going to come back, right? Which the world might have really valuable stuff, but maybe it just needs to kind of connect together a little bit more, or present itself with confidence of, hey, this is why you're here, right? Because we don't want our visitors thinking, why am I here / why should I stay? Um, so one of the other things, and I see this a lot, and this is a big one, is show, don't tell, right? Um, I'm sure we've seen where it's like you spawn into a world and there is a whole massive wall of text, and it's like, listen, I can read, but I don't want to right now. So it's seeing walls of text to convey story or instructions, right? I think that is a big one. Definitely have instructions, have written things. There are concepts that have to be explained. Um, but when you have things that maybe can be discovered, that's a moment. That is a time where I can't uh, begin to explain how many times I've had those moments where it's like, oh wow, okay, like this does that, right? Like you connect in that moment with the mechanic or the story, and so it sticks with you. And it could be like a really exciting moment, really fun moment, really surprising moment. And that's something you might want to share, right? But it's also going to help you not forget, right? Or maybe you want to come back to get more of that. So when worlds just sort of dump everything on you, it becomes maybe a little bit forgettable. Not just the world, but like what to do, right? If there's 5 tasks you absolutely have to do in this world, right? But it's all just told to you. Um, I might not remember, and then now my gameplay is disrupted because, oh shoot, what was I supposed to do with this, right? So it can be confusing. So allowing people to experience the world and kind of have a sense of discovery is a really big important thing. And then the last one, and we've heard this one a lot, is finding the fun. Where's the fun? So this is a big one, especially when we're designing for mobile, right? Because those play sessions generally are much shorter. So we want to make sure, regardless of what our world is, whether it's a hangout world or a game or whatever, we want to make sure that they can get to it quickly because they'll dip out if they can't find it, right? And additionally, having too much friction during your onboarding process can and will make a player leave, right? If they can't get to it too fast, oh, there's too much to explain, or oh, I have to travel 500,000 miles all on foot. Like, I'll come back later, maybe. So if they can't find the fun quickly, they likely won't find a reason to return because a bored player is a gone player. And that ties to this thought of I'm bored, I'll go somewhere else. So the to summarize these is when we're designing our worlds, let's think about, why are we doing this, right? And I think most of us know, right? But I think it's a good thing to kind of confront yourself on, is like, what is the goal of this world? What is the purpose of this world? Because that, like I said, can help you tie it all together. Also, making sure that we are allowing our players to discover these things for themselves a bit. And helping them get immersed in it, right? By giving them the experience and not the long spiel and now go do the thing. And then also helping players find the fun quickly. That way they can come in and get to the best fun parts of everything, and then they come back and they bring friends. So yeah. So final thoughts, because I guess I haven't talked enough yet. My final thoughts on the world are, I think it's great. I think it's solid in its craftsmanship. I think that in terms of engagement, engaging activities, story, thematic elements, with Texas being the first of 2 words in the title. I think that there's room for improvement on that, but overall, I think it's a really solid world, and I think it has a lot of potential to do great. To the creator, if you're in the audience or you're listening later in the future, I hope the future is great. But don't overthink it, man. You've got a really solid world so far. Trust your instinct, trust your gut. And also don't be scared to reach out. And you submitted your world to the Feedback Festival, so that's a great first step.